This podcast is protected under the laws of the United States and other countries. Unauthorized duplication, distribution, or exhibition may result in civil liability, criminal prosecution, and the wrath of the tall man.
Boy! Hey, let's talk about you, the ID10T community events at ID10T.com, like Russ Stevens, a.k.a.
CatBusRuss,
who has started a podcast called 90 for Chill, which Russ says is dedicated to movies with a runtime between 74 and 99 minutes, the time frame that I feel is ideal. Russ, I could not agree with you more. That is a fantastic idea. Russ goes on to say there are times you need a cinematic fix but don't have time for the latest Scorsese masterpiece or offering from a comic book universe. There's also times when you need a conclusion to prevent a binge costing you a whole night. My guest and I try to follow these guidelines as we chat up features that are definitely worth your time and are beyond easy to make time for. 90 for Chill, the podcast, can be found on all major podcast platforms at 90forchill.com, and that's spelling out 90, N-I-N-E-T-Y, 4 F-O-R, chill. So there you go. Thank you so much for sharing, Russ. Really great idea for a podcast. Events at ID10T.com for everyone else.
Everybody loves Robocop. He's a stainless steel, unstoppable Clint Eastwood.
I really love that guy.
Robocop is dead on, both as a thriller and an unexpected comedy. 2 thumbs up.
I like it!
Newsweek calls it slick, lively. Audiences will eat it up. Robocop.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.
Rated R.
Now playing at a theater near you. Check newspaper for time.
Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
Bring the noise.
Break out your Asian snacks. It is I Did Crazy Flicks presents 90 for Chill, the podcast, officially, and I'm with the Poetic Critic, the person who was able to attend all 3 days of C2E2. Of course, is CatBusRuss. So, I kind of reviewed Friday from my standpoint, but, that was really just wrestling talk, the speed friending experience, and getting a tattoo. Yeah. You were wise enough to just give up on the Lord of the Rings bollocks to begin with and just check out your Doctor Who stuff.
Well, yeah, but we went to my boyfriend and I went to the meetup, not meetup, but the extra charge Lord of the Rings cast reunion panel back at Fan Expo Chicago a few years back. So it just wasn't that high a priority for us this time. But yeah, we went to the Doctor Who meetup, which was scheduled at the same time, 11 o'clock on Friday morning. And this year, they moved some of the meetups down to one of the conference rooms on the first floor where you have to go down all the escalators.
Huh.
When you go back upstairs, they generally make you go through security again because you go so far out of the way. But even for all that, there was not a bad turnout. We had about 20 people turn up.
No, that's
15, 20 people turn up for the meetup, which is pretty impressive, especially given most of us were cosplayers.
Well, it's, meetups seem to work out pretty well, I'd say, in general, just because, the speed friending I did, but then I go back to the C2E2 where I met Nick from In Love with Movies about, creators passing on their stuff, and that was a pretty filled room and what have you. Again, not a lot of cosplay. I will give you that.
We had no cosplayers at last year's Doctor Who meetup, but that was later on Friday, and it was actually on the con floor.
Yeah.
But it's clear that this year they've been adding so much stuff and expanding pre-established areas like the Cosplay Central booths that something had to give, and they did move several things down to the bottom floor, including some workshops and I think there was one room that was for game. One of several rooms that was for tabletop gaming was down on that really bottom level.
Where the old McDonald's was.
No, it's the floor below that. The
Whoa.
first floor.
Dang.
For those of you who know how McCormick Place is set up, especially the south and north buildings right next to each other, separated by a big concourse, will know what I'm talking about. But that we got that many people, and they were mostly cosplayers for the Doctor Who meetup at 11 in the morning on Friday, when a lot of people were still just coming in. It was pretty impressive. Now, given that right now Doctor Who is kind of second class in terms of popularity. I mean, Disney does not go out of its way to promote that they have it on Disney Plus. Even though Russell T Davies recently said in an interview, because there's been this sort of Damocles hold over Doctor Who's head since the end of the era where Chris Chibnall was the showrunner and Jodie Whittaker was playing the Doctor. I'm trying to sum it up quickly for those who are not too big into Doctor Who's franchise. COVID did a number on that show's budget and episode orders, along the fact that it did not go over as well with a lot of fans. Not necessarily because it was a female lead, but because she wasn't done well by the writing. The Star Trek Voyager fans may be able to relate. But given that it's kind of a second-class status now among the big fandoms, there were a lot of more cosplayers than I expected doing Doctor Who stuff. There was a wide variety of stuff represented. We had stuff from the classic series, and we had stuff from the contemporary series. And even given that Chicago, in some ways, is the epicenter of the American Doctor Who fandom going back to the turn of the 80s, I thought it was impressive that I saw almost as much, maybe about an equal amount of that as I saw related to people doing MCU cosplays or DC cosplays.
I wouldn't go that far, but I would say the MCU, video games, and DC and Star Wars are still your top stuff.
Well, video games, I think, outstrips those other three combined at this point.
I don't know about that, because I can't...
you say video games, that covers a lot of stuff.
Right, but I can't... But, you know, the pinnacle of gaming was the Super Nintendo, and I will stand by that. It's all about getting the points. If you want to write a narrative, write a movie. Sorry, you... Well, never mind. The Last of Us. Like, I did not know they did the first game in the first season. So what are they expecting after this? Are they going Game of Thrones? Like, all right, Abby and Ellie leave reluctantly their tales of vengeance to find new adventure, and the third game hasn't even come out yet. All right, so,
No, if anything, it was better that they were doing the meetups like this, where we're not just all standing around, which is good for photos, but not so much for conversations. We were able to sit down and have nice conversations with our fellow fans at this point.
Well, I will say C2E2 does community better than I think.
That really strikes me, and I'll get to more on that as we work our way through 3 days, as far as the community experience goes.
Yes. Because Fan Expo is a lot of show just... Like, I was disappointed in C2E2 because I don't think there was enough panels, not to say I'm bitter, or, you know, and how they've done stuff, rearranging things. Oh, we're going to make this bigger and that. And it's like, yeah, but you don't have... But it's still not big enough. Like, 402 could have been 2 rooms. You know, you could have really had more overflow with the lack of stuff you had scheduled.
I don't feel like it was a lack of stuff.
I do, because I can see big chunks where, nothing's in this room from, like, there should be something in a spot an hour.
Well, I think of how well handled they did all the late night stuff on Friday and Saturday, because there was a lot to do then.
Well, no, it was cool that they got Patton Oswalt to do a set.
But they also had multiple...
And I know Saturday they had the Burlesque, the Nerdlesque show.
I sat in on the Comedy at the Con lineup of some local stand-ups for the first few sets. And they had the Second City do a show on the main stage at 5:30 on Saturday.
Right, well.
And the Patton Oswalt one was the only one I can think of offhand that was a hard ticket event rather than complimentary, and that's all the more impressive. Because there were good turnout. There was a good turnout for the Comedy at the Con show. It was in one of the smaller level 4 rooms, but still.
Yeah. Oh no, they comedy does bring them out. At ICC Indiana Comic Con 25, there was a good nerd set. But this is where you kind of like really get to know your nerdum. Or I should say, one guy was very heavy on satire, and it's like, you know, how many people's... I don't know, would have been great to get a feel on how many people still think, how the far right thinks of Starship Troopers now.
But what's interesting, it wasn't all necessarily nerdy stuff. The Comedy at the Con MC seemed pretty well versed. But the two gals I sat in for their sets, they were more about relationship humor than nerd stuff.
Oh, and that's usually what the best stuff
you're following
is.
You're following where the work is. You know, so they weren't necessarily bringing in nerd comics per se.
Yeah, well, I'm saying we had a nerd act when I saw a nice...
Wait.
And that was like a 2:00 thing. I mean, I was just getting prepped for my panel at ICC then. So, yeah, I kind of missed... Again, Saturday being sold out, I was kind of like, well, we can get to that. So you had your Doctor Who.
Yeah, and of course, we needed time to look. My boyfriend and I, we needed time to get something to eat. We needed time to start walking the floors and find stuff. Find what's on our lists. And we each found some stuff that we've been trying to hunt down.
Well, you're lucky there. I mean, I did finally, somehow I had like some thing making me feel like I needed a ring on my finger. It's like I haven't worn a ring since my class ring in high school. So I finally got that taken care of. But honestly, like I don't know, I think a lot more dice places now than ever.
You know, I noticed, I think that goes back to the community thing. We're seeing a lot more game-related stuff at the cons when it comes to tabletop gaming and card gaming, and that's where a lot of the expanded space was being given over to. You had the tavern on the top floor, new for this year, where a big part of it was just people could just go have their private games with each other, or go sit in the beanbags if they wanted. We had rooms that were free play board games. There was like tens of board games ready for free play, and I know there was gaming on the first level, and there was plenty of gaming merchandise on the floor, especially D&D. But if you count card games, you also had plenty of stuff for Magic, Lorcana.
No, plenty of Pokemon still.
Yeah, a lot. Pokemon's still very big. But anyway, that kept us more than occupied. Plus the Galloping Ghost Arcade, they were back bringing over some of their
retro
cabinets.
machines, yeah.
They had a great selection this year too, and most of them were kept up and running the bulk of the time, which is not easy. I particularly enjoyed
Darn you, King Candy.
actually getting to play Burger Time. But they also had... Yeah, did you go through the Galloping Ghost Arcade this year?
No, I did not.
They had a really neat early Bally game called Timber that I'm surprised isn't better known because it's a great concept.
Well, I've got, part of it for me is like I don't want to, like for me Friday it was like, okay, try the Lord of the Rings panel. Okay, I guess there's nothing interesting till 1, which was a panel about framing shots and stuff, and that's why I met Matt McKelvey, the tattoo guy, and it's like, well, no, I better take it now because he was getting filled up like while he was working on me. So I was really much trying to figure out how to get everywhere. I had to check out the Pro Wrestling Tees booth. So that Wrestlers Alley. The only one I really regret not trying to doing a lot more investigation on was Jake Roberts had a table, and I think it was just basically like, Well, he's Jake Roberts. He's a pretty quiet guy to begin with. You don't want to, the awkwardness of stopping by a table to try looking over the prices and getting somebody, "You gonna buy something, kid?" And then you feel like a douche when you, no. So, yeah, so I didn't really, I didn't get to Artist Alley until Sunday.
Right.
So, because, we went to the, so anything between the meetup and the talent show?
No, Friday is often given over to the more industry and educator-friendly panels.
That's true. Yeah,
that's kind of become traditional. They'd be the kind of people who'd have more time to be there on Friday in the first
right.
place.
And I've been to so many of them. I was kind of like, didn't think I would really learn anything new, but that might be a mistake. Trump's America. So.
And then we checked out the talent show, which was a new concept this year. They took applications online asking for people to submit forms and ideally footage of various nerd-related talent acts. And roughly they were trying to hit an ideal of 2 to 3 minutes, but in practice, with the musical acts especially, some of them were allowed to go longer. I have to wonder how many applications they really got. But what I did notice was how well the actual show was curated, because it was a pretty great lineup of performers. We had hip-hop dancers, we had an interpretive fan dance inspired by Pokemon. We had several acts featuring performances of video game music. And the big winner was a violinist who did that kind of an act. And they took the trouble to have, some of the acts took the trouble to have video projections of the relevant footage on the screen behind them. And almost everybody was in some kind of a costume. And we had solo singing acts, and we had one nerdy stand-up act that had one of the shorter sets. And I thought it was an excellent program. It was really well put together. There was only one technical difficulty during... we did have 2 different singers who performed Defying Gravity from Wicked. And the first one had a technical malfunction in the middle of their performance where the backing track screwed up.
Oh, so...
But they managed to power through it, and there wasn't any significant delay.
Mm-hmm. Well, that just brings me back to the movie Jersey Girl. And now to perform Memories from Cats. And now to perform Memories from Cats. And now to perform Memories from Cats.
Hey, kids, look what you can win in the Krusty Sweepstakes. Yeah! To enter, send me your parents' brains. All right, parents' brains on a 3x5 card and send it to...
All across America, critics are raving about the movie event of the year.
It is American, 100%. That's what I'm talking about.
Cool.
Going to DC.
Are you serious? The United States are vaporized. They shoot us on sight in the Capitol.
I've never been scared like that before, and I've never felt more alive.
Holy fucking shit!
You watch. Soon as DC falls, they'll turn on each other.
Whatever happens, we don't quit.
Oh my God.
You don't want to miss this.
God bless America.
Civil War. Rated R. Get tickets now.
So, I do not know if this one fits either the 90 for chill, which it does not, just by a few seconds, or I did crazy flicks. So, the film I just finished watching was Civil War, Alex Garland's follow-up to Men from 2024, in which we document 4 journalists two at least are photojournalists, one aspiring, one veteran who may be worn out on it, covering the decline or the fall of Washington, D.C. by the Western forces, very much like World War II when it came down to the Western forces being England, France, and the United States versus Russia. Who's going to capture the capital? In this case, it's Washington, D.C. In World War II, obviously, it was Berlin, to conclude the greatest of wars. It is brilliantly shot. I can only really detect a few continuity errors that kind of threw me off. Like, is this a Kirsten Dunst flashback as a young photographer, or is this the current day? But otherwise, near perfect, dare I say. There were points where the visuals made me want to wish that I saw this in IMAX and in 3D. Alex Garland, this is maybe not my favorite movie of his. I mean, Ex Machina is going to be tough to top. But from a directorial standpoint, might be his finest. I would say there's points where I'd like to say, oh gosh, I wish this was IMAX and in 3D. That's how beautiful it looks. And it's a story of, America finally splitting apart. In this case, you have the Western forces of California and Texas racing to capture the capital against the Florida Alliance and a belligerent president trying to say that, no, everything is fine. So, thank you, Nick Offerman, for a great Trump portrayal. It's, well, as I just stated, brilliantly directed except for one bit. And the effects are great. But the most important thing about this feature is it's pretty much non-political. It just basically says, like, this is what war is like. So imagine if it actually happened in the United States instead of Palestine, or give it 20 years ago, Iraq or Syria. At least from an American standpoint, and I think you could even go back to Vietnam. He captures, I think, the question, Alex Garland, captures the question, what would it be like if actual war happened on United States soil? And I think he captures it perfectly. It's, as I say, non-political, but the only moment it really takes to be political is surely about xenophobia, and nobody does it better than Jesse Plemons when you say, well, we need somebody to just encompass the total, no, this is weird vibe than that actor, Jesse Plemons. Really, I only know him from Game Night. I have not watched, I think he was in, well, it was either Black Klansman or Jesus and the Black Messiah. So he's got a creepy vibe to him, and I don't get it. He's just your regular Midwestern guy, even if you look over his IMDb. But he does it great wherever and whatever you expect him to display. Really, that says, you better get into his Jorgen Lathamos movies with Emma Stone. I know he was in Kind of Kindness, and I suspect he probably has a role to play in Poor Things. But I digress about that. The only reason I think it might qualify for I Dig Crazy Flicks is the fact that it's tough for me to believe that we could actually secure forces to take down the tyrant in office. But I love the ending. It's very much like, no. By this point, we have a Hitler in office right now. Let's just put it that way. And we get to fantasize about what the Russians, the Soviets, I dare say, and the Yanks could not apply in 1945. So, in a sense, that kind of makes it sound like I enjoyed it just for the, dare I say, fantastical dream capturing. The script is brilliant, and I love the dynamic of, and it's a classic dynamic, dare I say, of our main protagonist being Kirsten Dunst trying to, inadvertently, I dare say in this case, trying to mentor a new photojournalist. And it shows how I think photojournalists want to try to not be as cold as they are when trying to capture the most brutal of situations. And it shows the development of that, of a character wanting to just live in it. So great dynamic there, great acting by everyone involved. I don't do it proper kindness because I've seen a lot of these actors. I mean, the journalist element, as in an interviewer. So that does bring me to the plot. Basically, we have a group of journalists, two of them being photojournalists, one just now joining the party, and two being traditional journalists, one being over the hill, one being the guy from Elite Squad, wanting to head to Washington, D.C. to capture the moment that it falls. Despite the fact that the press are being executed to subdue the message that the current United States is going to hold up, while still factoring the fact that it's a big-ass country, so there's just people who are not going to get involved, which are actually the parents of our two photojournalists. There's, as I say, some brilliant film. This is the guy who kind of gets credit for directing Dread 3D when he didn't, but you see a lot of his flourishes, that being Alex Garland. It's just a feature that I think more importantly serves to tell us that we have to take every war very seriously, as if these are our own people dying. And I hope more people see this feature so we know that we gotta straighten our act up, because we don't want this happening on our soil. And it further enhances my need to want to see the tyrants be punished. Like the ending, I mean, these press members are supposed to be neutral, but it comes down to the fact that you can't help the fact that there is evil in this smacking world, and it's going to be satisfying when they finally get put in their place. So this delivers on, dare I say, a self-awareness that, hey, we don't want the United States to be like the world we cover and are afraid of, while still saying that, hey, there are some people out there, tyrants, dare I say, who need to meet their end, and it's got to be documented. So Civil War, a definite recommendation.
Superman!
And now for what I can only assume is a hymn from the musical Sweeney Todd. God, that's good. Okay, so knocking that joke out of the way. So After Hours, I think we may have just talked a little about it. You have the Patton Oswalt set, which was the only pay thing, but everything else is pretty much free. And I imagine, did you get to any karaoke that night?
I didn't do the Friday night karaoke because I decided, since my boyfriend couldn't stay that late, that it might be better to wait till the next day. And as such, I just went to go to dinner instead. Now, going into what we did on Saturday, we weren't interested in the Breakfast Club reunion panel.
The movie I discovered that, gosh, censors suck. Because every junior high kid, I think, would benefit from seeing that movie.
Well, there was a big turnout for that panel, as far as I could tell. That was one that a lot of people were really hyped for. Mm-hmm. But instead, our first panel that day was the Jon Boyega panel. Oh, okay. Which went over really well.
That's good.
Part of it was that I can't remember the guy's name, but the C2E2 MC, you've seen that guy before, this colorful shirts.
Yeah, from Florida.
The guy from Florida who met his wife at a con.
Was he Donald or Goofy down at the? Because I thought he technically was a cast member in a suit.
I can't remember that part. But
it reminds me of Full House when we find out about Joey's mom.
Yeah.
You want to invite your mom to your set in Vegas? I would, but she's goofy.
Oh, that's not a nice thing to say about your mom.
No. She works in Anaheim. She's wears the suit, loves it.
The kids love her. But, they always run like goofy little games and activities as people are going to see them.
Right.
With the Boyega panel, guy interacted with some three. Instead, he noticed there were three cosplayers dressed as Jawas, and they had sound effects speakers and everything for the Jawa speak. So he invited them up onto the stage, and my boyfriend said these guys should have been in the talent show by the time they're breaking out hip hop dance moves and stuff. And so that was a good start. And the Boyega panel itself, which he was mostly talking about Star Wars and his experiences with that. Well, he also did stuff like Pacific Rim and Attack the Block.
Right. No.
They cloned Tyrone, but yeah,
I think Detroit was another movie. I mean, he's done a lot of grounded movies, like the Detroit or the one where he's robbing a bank for noble reasons.
But it was mainly about Star Wars. But it was being recorded for the Happy Sad Confused podcast, as it turned out. They had the host from that show on, and as you might expect from that, it was very professionally handled, and we all really enjoyed it.
Were we still dealing with the QR code questions?
No, nobody did QR code questions this year.
All right, because the troopers, you had to go submit it to the QR code.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see anything like that at any of the panels I went to.
Well, I mean, it's primarily only the main stage that, scan the QR. I know they were big on it last year.
Yes, I remember that now.
Yeah.
And then after that, we roamed around a bit and we checked out another of the new community activities this year. Now, they did a bit of this last year, but it was much more freeform this year. But Up on 5, where a lot of the simple community activities and spaces were carved out, like the Pride Lounge and the Tavern, they had a table set up for trinket trading.
Mm-hmm. You were telling me about that.
Yeah, trinket. For those not familiar with it, because it is relatively new, at least on the convention scene, I guess it got its start in Renaissance festivals. Trinket trading is where you bring small items to swap with others. It can be a one-on-one thing, which is what it was last year when they were doing it out on the con floor at scheduled times. But in this case, it was kind of a free play thing where you would leave your items, which traditionally tend to be stuff like small bits of jewelry, can be hand-painted or just something you got maybe that you don't want anymore, like a button or a badge or a patch. And you can you see if there's something you like, and you take that as an as a switch.
So Hoggle wouldn't like it because of the exchanging portion of it.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't. But everybody was bringing neat stuff. Eventually, it almost seemed to get out of hand because it was very clear. We visited that table several times over
3 days,
Saturday and Sunday. We didn't check it out until Friday. On Friday, but when the trading was getting to the point where people were leaving stuff like Pokemon cards and people leave handcrafted stuff, some left origami pieces. You could also make a drawing and swap it for a drawing that had already been left there. It was kind of messy, but people clearly loved this.
All right, so next year I'm just pitching at C2E2 Boulder Experience. Make them go total Raiders of the Lost Ark when they're making the trinket exchange.
I think that would need a lot more space.
Give me some time. So, And Saturday, so trinket trading, Robocop.
Yes, we did the trinket trading as a way to kill time before a Robocop reunion panel with Nancy Allen and Peter Weller. And that panel had a moderator, and it ended up being that a lot of the questions and talking were given over to Peter Weller.
If you've seen his panels before,
he's a man who has a lot to say.
Yes.
He's got a book coming out.
Yeah, I've seen him push it on Instagram.
Yeah, he was pushing it here too. He had a shirt and everything.
All right, I can appreciate that.
And we did get into some digressions about the Venetian form of government, among other things. But we still got a lot of great stories about making Robocop and, you know, the movies, how the movie plays now and then, and how the actors' attitudes toward it have shifted, changed over time. There was even a bit of talk about why the second movie didn't work so well.
You know, Verhoeven.
Well, that's a primary thing. That they found Irvin Kershner was an okay guy to work, only an okay guy to work with.
Oh,
he didn't have the soul that somebody like Verhoeven, go for broke soul that Verhoeven had.
No, I think it was Michael Irons who just basically said authoritative or authoritarian stance of.
But that panel, I'm surprised that one. I agreed with my boyfriend. It is surprising that panel didn't get the main stage because they gave that over to the Futurama cast reunion at the same time.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, I wouldn't get that. Like, I don't know. Something interesting though is the lack of has-been hotel stuff.
I think that's because a bunch of those voice actors have already signed on to do Fan Expo Chicago.
Oh no, but I just find it funny because they are all over the place anyhow.
Well, yeah, I saw plenty of stuff like the merchandise and the artist alley and a few cosplayers.
Yeah, not as many cosplayers as I'm accustomed to. But I'm just saying, like ICC 25, the lead actress was there.
Mm-hmm.
Twin City, Fan Expo NOLA, Twin City Con, like.
But I think a big reason we didn't see as much of it this time was because the performers are going to be doing Fan Expo Chicago in August.
I just want season 2 by this point.
I do know that there was at least one of the late night panels was an 18+ panel for the Has-Been franchise fans. But
yeah, I guess I was more shocked by the lack of cosplay.
Well, I saw a few, but yeah, I was less. Nobody brought it up at any of the karaoke sessions I attended.
I mean, that is weird. Who does not want to get the opportunity to sing "You're a Loser"?
Well, when we went down to cosplay not cosplay, but karaoke in the yard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the big green carpet.
Yeah, they're not exactly going to let you. They shouldn't exactly let you sing "You're a Loser" on the floor.
The MC told us straight up that no, the songs have to be family friendly here. If you want to do anything dirtier, you go to the late night show. It did take about 20 minutes to get it up and running because the Wi-Fi connection in the yard, and as I explained to my boyfriend, I'm not surprised this would happen because of the karaoke app system that they use.
Yeah, I hate that app system.
No, I think it works fine because once it was up and running, the show went very smoothly, and I sang a song for him, and he sang a song for me, and we had an interesting variety of songs. In fact, taking out the stuff like Has Been Hotel and stuff like that, we did have two people sing the old 60s song that they use as the theme for What We Do in the Shadows because they had a cosplay for it. We had a guy who sang Backstreet Boys' Bye Bye Bye. That was
NSYNC's
that was
Bye.
NSYNC. But they had that, and not only could he do the moves, we had a dancing Deadpool cameo on the floor. We had one guy dressed as Peter Parker when he's
emo Parker.
No, not emo Parker. Pre-Spider-Man Peter Parker from the first film when he goes up against Bonesaw with little mask and all that.
The hoodie.
Yeah. And all he did was tequila, which turned into an Andy Kaufman routine.
Well, I mean, everybody does. There's always some twat who thinks they're original doing tequila. I mean, it was a meme to begin with. Somebody. I mean, at least it was inventive. I hope he was doing the dance.
I didn't do the dance.
Aw, jeez. He didn't just do the traditional stand there.
No, I didn't. Yeah, that's pretty much what he did.
Well, glad I didn't have the opportunity to spend $80 for that BS. No, I did want to see The Breakfast Bunch. I will say that in Robocop. Jon Boyega is interesting, especially now with him kind of not wanting to be Star Wars.
Yeah.
I think he's got to get a Jordan Peele movie or something, because I think he's gonna have to kiss the ring at some point. Sadly.
What we did, but yeah, karaoke wound up going over pretty well. And I think everybody who wanted to sing got onto the list.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah, and it had to go a little past 7 for the last number, which I think some guy, was guy singing Dream On served as the finale, which was very appropriate as we're all going upstairs for the Saturday night events. And as I said, I first actually managed to. First, I was just kind of doing crowd watching and trinket trading, but I was able to get a seat in the overflow room for the cosplay championship, which if David had been able to stay longer, we would have tried to check out together. But I watched, I was able to get a seat in the overflow room, and I just actually watched cosplayers come out and show off. I wasn't that so interested in the judging. But they had a lot of really interesting characters and approaches represented. Like, we had a Skeksis from the Dark Crystal. We had at least 3 different interpretations. The Queen of Hearts from Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. We had Gender Bent Wizard of Oz. We had stuff representing Futurama. We had stuff representing Super Mario Brothers. We had a few Queen Amidala outfits. It's always impressive to watch those shows, because this is the world level of competitive cosplay you're seeing here.
Oh no, there's an excellent episode. The one, I guess you'd say it's the one before we did Fan Expo NOLA with the NOLA film scene guys, where they were interviewing a cosplayer who could really give you the Miss Ooh La La, who can really give you an insight in the entire game.
Right.
So, I mean, she can tell you everything about the competitive levels and such.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like European soccer. It's like, whoa, are you really ready for the major leagues? So, there we go. That's a TV to pitch for Netflix. Or I think it was FXX. But, hey, this is Wrexham except for cosplay. Mm-hmm. I'm sure the Sci-Fi Channel did it, but... Like, is there any sci-fi on the Sci-Fi Channel now?
I don't pay attention to that, so I can't help you there.
So...
And then after that, I went to the stand-up comedy at the Con Showcase for a bit. And then we did the late night karaoke. And the thing I noticed is, even though they could have done it, I sat in for the first 45 minutes until I did my set, as it were. And we didn't get any Has-Been Hotel. We did get Smells Like Teen Spirit. We got a lot of 90s and Turn of the Millennium rock songs like that. We did, if there was one
Nobody did Sweet Home Alabama.
If they did, I didn't see it.
Okay.
Well, I do notice that I don't think a karaoke session that went through this year went by without at least one of the Wicked songs. And to their credit, all the gals who did Wicked songs were really good, and I think all of them were in costumes. And I ended up doing the monorail song from The Simpsons. Surprisingly, they didn't have more Simpsons songs in that Care of Fun catalog. But the monorail song ended. I think everybody in that room, and it was nearly packed by that point, knew the monorail song. So I could have just done it as call and response, and it would have worked. Mm-hmm. And I got a bunch of high fives as I left the room. I think I charged them as much as anything did that night. And given that some of these people are like 20 years younger than me, it goes to show.
Well, that's the weird thing about kids nowadays. You can watch South Park before 7 p.m.
Yeah.
And Lord knows, FX, what else do they show during the day?
Yeah. So we tried to do, we're going to do another round of karaoke on the yard on Sunday afternoon. We were going to basically finish our day with that, but we cut bait after 30 minutes of waiting because for some reason they were having trouble getting the MCs for the events on Sunday. As far as I can tell, they weren't really having any problems with that in the previous few days. Not for the yard.
I mean, say you got a table, you just want to get your shit loaded up.
Yeah.
Out
so, but that day, the first panel we did was Art of the Movie Poster, which featured.
Yeah, I did think about checking that out.
We have 3 artists who do specialty posters for the specialty market of both new and older movies.
Your Etsy's, Redbubbles.
Well, not Etsy and Redbubble. These are the officially licensed posters that like Mondo handles.
All right, there you go.
And they had, and one of them did a poster for Wonder Woman, the original Wonder Woman movie from 2016. And we're basically running on assumptions of what the iconography of the film was, but it came out really well for that. We had one who did Midsummer, and who did kind of tarot card inspired design. And we had one who did an official poster for Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. And this led to an interesting examination of the process of where you get your inspiration from, and how, because these are official posters, that you do have to have your designs be in a kind of standardized way for certain things. Like the Godzilla, the first draft sketch of the Godzilla poster, the gal was designing. They got word from Toho that it had to be bulkier. The Godzilla she had was a little too skinny. And then it became a Q&A about technique, if you're tools. Yeah. So it was a little dry, but...
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Gen Xer, our Godzilla came out, well, I guess it's funny. Ryan likes to consider, our little sister likes to consider herself as a millennial.
Well, she technically is.
I don't buy this. No. You weren't born before 81. You sit with your millennial stuff and you deal with your avocado toast. I'd like to call it Midwest X myself, because so many millennials in the Midwest, since we don't, like, if you're not in Chicago, we get to see it in the test market, and then we gotta wait 10 years before it gets to us. So there's definitely a Gen X vibe amongst the thoughtful, self-reflective members of, say, Peoria, and then it's all country loving blue stripes on our flag assholes. My opinion of Peoria. I still can't come into town and, like, I hear one bumper for 10570X. Yeah, it's like, dude, we didn't get over this 15 years ago. We're still doing this? I left 10 years ago. Come on. So that's
And from there, we sat in on Movies Everybody Disagrees With.
right, which was a full they wouldn't even let me in, and Doug and Brad did not know they were pushing people away until I got to chat with them later on.
Right. Well, they were about 10 minutes late as it was.
That's typical for the crew from Channel Awesome. I will say that.
Well, also given how crowded it was.
Well, it's usually but at least on Fridays they have the excuse that it's the first day, and usually they had. I didn't see if they had another panel themselves because typically they usually have about 2 panels. One just to promote Channel Awesome, and then the panel to get people to come in actually. Like that's something so people, if you're looking to submit to Comic-Cons, go for the panel idea first. Like I think 90 for Chill is a great idea people jump on, or at least I'll give you it. Don't necessarily say you're doing a podcast, because then they're going to put you in a room where you want the best audio away from everybody else. Nobody's going to come. Personal experience. And I felt bad for Chris Alexander, all his panels. And he's not doing a podcast, but they were all forced on one side, the other side of the Indiana Convention Center. So,
but
yeah.
Movies Everybody disagrees with you on went over really well. Maybe it was telling, but it was more about people liking movies that don't have good reputations more than the opposite.
It usually is.
My boyfriend did argue that, made an argument that while Star Trek II is a fun movie, it's not really good as a Star Trek movie if you consider the traditional non-militaristic approach of the franchise under Roddenberry at that point, which he's been a purist on.
Yeah.
And
but you are familiar with V'ger, right? No, give us some bang. That's all I'm saying.
Well, yeah, no, he brought that up. It was a fun movie, and that it did help. That it was probably what the franchise needed to keep going. I think pretty much everyone agreed on that after the motionless picture. But even so, that's why it's not one of his. He doesn't see it as a high point for the franchise the way a lot of people do.
Well, I mean,
Rob said he had the best. He did the best argument. Thought he made the best argument when he had to talk to him a bit afterwards while I was chewing the fat with Brad.
Well, I remember when I went after Jurassic Park. I'm like, come on, just watch Westworld. No kids. Saves you 30 minutes right there. And come on, it's this, that, and they basically responded, "You're not wrong, but that makes it hurt even worse." And of course, I love to pull out. They did this movie just because they could. They didn't stop and ask if they should.
But we also had somebody they weren't really one of the ones where people. The guy who argued that he didn't care much for the original Friday the 13th.
Well, that's easy.
Hardly anyone could disagree with him.
No, it's not a good movie. If anything, Friday the 13th brought camp to horror. Camp as in, we're just doing this for the lulz to horror. I skimmed through most of the first one. The second one, I'm watching. Kind of fun. And then once I see a machete and a kid in a wheelchair and see him roll back down some stairs, yeah, you just did that one for the laugh, not the scare.
But most of them were about movies that they felt deserved more love, and this included Last Jedi, Home Alone 2.
Home Alone 2.
Universally, everyone loves Tim Curry in that movie.
Yes.
I love you.
Rob Schneider is good in it. But I think, everybody says cut the. I know it doesn't work if you cut the pigeon lady, but that dragged the movie.
Nobody even brought up the pigeon lady.
And then when it comes, but this is me when I was arguing with Billy Corgan about the Hangover 1 versus Hangover 2.
Yeah.
Hangover 1, and I guess you could say the same thing about Home Alone. And, yeah, it's violent, but kind of dull. Nothing too extreme. Nothing that makes you go, whoa.
Well, I think that's part of this guy's argument.
Home Alone 2 is
the extreme, going truly extreme with the slasher-esque traps was paid off.
Yeah, you just have to double, oh, you weren't impressed? How about we double down on it?
Yeah.
That's why I love Hangover 2 and not Hangover.
We have great defense of Batman Forever.
Aside from...
no one really likes Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face that much, but a key argument was Val Kilmer, rest in peace, as the defender pointed out, was the best Bruce Wayne in a way that Michael Keaton wasn't.
I don't know. No.
I get that argument, and it's not the first place I've heard it in. And we do sanction the buffoonery of Jim Carrey.
Yeah, no, I am on the Michael Keaton was the best Bruce Wayne of the original franchise, because you could see it, just for his... So then he just, went a little nuts and goes into that rage, and it's that's something Val Kilmer doesn't really get to do.
But that's the one you can actually imagine being the billionaire playboy that all the ladies want and stuff. That's what this guy was getting to. The Tim Burton Planet of the Apes remake got a good defense. Now this guy had actually read the original novel too, so there was a lot of interesting discussion about how the ending is closer to that of the book. Yet also discussing how it could have been tweaked to work better.
That's funny though, because Tim Burton is notorious for not actually reading this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, he didn't write the script.
Oh, yeah.
That's not his milieu. We had so that panel went over. Oh, we also had a nice discussion of the Snyder trilogy's advantages. And again, along with the caveats, discussing how some things could have been handled better, such as Pa Kent in Man of Steel. So you should have let those kids die? Maybe.
I'm see, I loved
that could have been handled better.
I loved Man of Steel. And I liked Batman v Superman. I think to truly appreciate Batman v Superman, you need to watch that extra half hour. And this is coming from a guy who started podcasting about movies between no longer than 100 minutes. Justice League, I still got to get around to the Snyder Cut.
Mm-hmm. Now, you do have to bring up the Snyder Cut when we're discussing what this fellow was discussing.
Yes, I totally understand that. Yeah, I did get to talk to Brad and Doug. Me, being an awkward little shite, I just jumped in when somebody was saying, talking to Brad, I love your Christian stuff. I'm more about the God's Not Dead and the Estes Perkle. And it's oh shoot, I got to see Perkle on the big screen. Oh, which one did you see?
I showed my boyfriend a review of put an entire you into him to give it an idea of what we were doing at B-Fest. And he's interested in attending B-Fest, so maybe we can help out, getting the back and forth taken care of for it.
Well, I mean, you realize it's a lock-in.
Yeah.
So there's no going home.
Right.
Okay.
No, he understands that idea.
Yeah, because I'm just saying, he's very considerate of his schedule. He's very tight.
Yeah. He would do the whole thing.
Okay, all right. I mean, I do joke I got the high-end version of the other sister. And they're both better actors than Juliette Lewis and Giovanni Ribisi in that case. Okay, expected the grumble, but that could have gone over worse.
But okay, now I talked about all the camels and stuff we did.
Yeah,
because we were gonna, as I said, we were gonna do the afternoon karaoke on Sunday.
Right. No, and
but we did get to at least get in touch with some other friends of ours in the process. So that was a net win anyway. But the other thing I wanted to talk about was stuff on the floor Artist Alley was fine. I didn't get a ton of stuff except Karen Hallian had some nice new stuff, including some of the Doctor Who Magic the Gathering cards she did guest commissions on.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I picked those up. But otherwise, I did think we got a lot more out of the main exhibit area, you know, the more conventional retail stuff, like the snacks, like the new, like the...
Yeah, if you heard me chomping away, that's on the Lay's spiced braised beef flavor potato chips. I don't know what the minus 50% is. I'm presuming sodium. I think it may have been spice. They're good, but it's more or less like, hey, let's throw potatoes into ramen water.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
But they had a new...
they had a couple of food vendors.
Yeah, they had a couple of new food vendors, and some of them were new, like Gingham Market, which was doing huge business all weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this sort of thing that makes you worry about where tariffs are going to go because these were pretty good prices. Like, it was about $45 a box for Pocky.
Three bags.
Virtually all of it was importing more exotic flavors.
Yeah, I still miss my roast chicken. I knew that. I know that's available in Asia. I know it's in London at least. Mm-hmm. I also bought. I bought the. That looks like it's gonna be fried chicken, and that looks like it's gonna be hot wings.
But yeah, we noticed with the vendors there was a lot of gaming stuff.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of import stuff. And it was interesting looking at stuff, you know, they keep expanding the area for the authors.
Yes, that is nice.
The one that Anderson's Bookshop sponsors, and that was where I picked up a few manga volumes I've been trying to track down.
Yeah.
And we noticed hunting down Funko Pops. I do think Funko made a mistake by going so heavily into the superheroes, because you see rack after rack of superhero stuff. Some of it discounted, not all, when you go to those booths. And then you're trying to find, and people are trying to find the Pops for franchises that aren't superheroes, like the Owl House. Apparently we were able to find for my boyfriend 2 of the Pops that they've done from that one, including, and we got the exclusive variant for one of them. And the guy said we cannot keep the Owl House stuff in stock. And you look at how already the value for some of the Wicked Pops is going up.
What? From
the list price. And it's not like those weren't widely available places. Some of these weren't widely available places like Target, but they were selling very quick. I didn't see any of the ones that, the one that was the online exclusive for the Wizard. I didn't see that on the shelves.
Well, I think I don't think Funko's just got to read I think Funko is kind of figured out that they have a product, and I think it's going to become more and more an online purchase thing, especially when you have your niche stuff that's not superhero. But otherwise, it's basically like I can't blame retailers for going for the superhero stuff, because let's just face it, you're in Target in the electronics section. You don't want your kid to wander off into the toy section. You grab them a $9 Robin.
Yeah, but I don't know if you can really call a lot of the stuff niche. Like some of the Disney Pops, I wouldn't call niche, like the Owl House,
I would
which
definitely,
had virtually no merchandise. But the fact that they can't keep it in stock when they do, and this is like 2 years after the show ended, is quite significant.
But I never knew of Owl House, so
because you didn't know, it didn't mean it wasn't important.
I'm not saying it wasn't.
It's the same with the growing. There's definitely a big growing market that they are acknowledging for anime Pops.
What I'm saying is that if it's not common knowledge to the public, then I would call that niche. That's just it. Nobody, and I've been getting a bunch of the Universal Lego, the Universal equivalent to Lego Galaxies. It's not going to go well. The Pops are going to sell. I got Nick Angel and R.J. McCready. Yeah, I know it's not the original Nicholas Angel and R.J. McCready, but so no, I'm just saying, like, if I don't know Owl House, what's the guy filling out? This isn't like my liquor job where I know what bourbons people are screaming for. So that's all I'm getting at. It's basically, well, nobody's yelling, put more Jim Beam out there.
Right. Well, that's all I can think of to say, because I thought it was one of the best C2E2s. Yeah,
well,
I had a great time with my boyfriend. And
well, I did check out the Starship Trooper panel, and we did joke about some of the Paul Verhoeven stories Rory got from the Robocop panel of him not really knowing about explosives and after effects.
Yeah.
And Michael Ironside really led that panel. Jake Busey was a lot of fun too. Jumping off the stage, act like he's a member of the crowd, asking questions about the Neil Blomkamp remake that's coming, or been greenlit. It's a Neil Blomkamp movie. We don't know if it's actually going to happen. Let's face it. And Michael Ironside standing up for Denise Richards about the about somebody who asked the question, was it tougher to be a pilot or a Bond girl? And that was met with Ironside just cutting Denise off. F that question. Hearing stories about the shower scene, how no, Paul Verhoeven did not shoot that naked to make us comfortable. He did drop trout just to prove he could do it. And I didn't pay that much attention to all the details about Jake Busey talking Casper into some extensions for the shower scene. But no, it's like very, very informative, especially like how did you, like, more or less Michael Ironside kind of understood it because he's a Canadian, that Americans are stupid. But how else could, all these press tours and people asking, you're doing a movie about Nazis. And Michael Ironside did a great early take about the writer of it, and like, don't read too deep. It's a good book. Don't read too deep into this guy wears women's clothing. Is what his grandfather told him. So it's but so that was a lot of fun, definitely, and it stopped me from having to look to get something autographed, spend $100 so I could get some Michael Ironside time.
Your cable TV is experiencing difficulties. Please do not panic. Resist the temptation to read or talk to loved ones. Do not attempt sexual relations, as years of TV radiation have left your genitals withered and useless.
Well, I'll be damned.
Christopher Walken will fight anyone's war for a price.
Would $100,000 cure cold feet?
Tom Berenger's just shooting to kill. Together, these soldiers of fortune are in a blood and guts mission to destroy a hostile dictatorship. They are the Dogs of War.
Who would have thought 2 Paul Freeman movies in 1 month, neither of which being Raiders of the Lost Ark? So I've just concluded watching The Dogs of War from 1980, starring Christopher Walken as a mercenary hired by an English, or, let's not accuse the Limeys, a British influence industry wanting to cause an upheaval in Western Africa for platinum rights, thus hiring Christopher Walken as a mercenary, leading a team that features Paul Freeman and Tom Berenger in an early role to do so. That really sums up the flick. I mean, it's really more for those who like the concept of knowing the ins and out of mercenary stuff, which I think to a movie I saw of Jason Statham and Robert De Niro called Killer Elite with that kind of elements, but this isn't about being fancy. It's a very straightforward tale, and I love how it concludes. Like, I was arguing, is it a 3? Is it a 3.5? Possibly a 4. I would say a 3.5 safe, because it doesn't really do anything outrageous to stand out. It's just a very solid narrative. I think back to movies, recent movies, dare I say, like Guy Ritchie's recent story about the man who inspired James Bond, about warfare by non-gentlemen. Sorry. I've had a few daiquiris and I'm on my scotch now, so bear with me. For me, it's fun picking up on a bunch of actors from the time. And honestly, it's fun to see a bunch of actors like Tom Berenger who would make themselves more famous later. This actually has an early Ed O'Neill from Married with Children. So it's nice seeing all these faces. It's another one of me capturing the man who played Rogue 2. He was in Highlander and Labyrinth. Let me see if I can get there. Nope, bear with me. Almost. No, not that. Well, a lot of familiar faces for an Anglophile. And you have to, and then when you watch the credits, and of course this all happens after the 100-minute mark, so you kind of catch on like, oh geez, that guy was in it. And then the extent of how they were casting the film, it was quite a effort to make this one work. And I think it's just a very honest display of what the entire idea of mercs would be. You just can't argue with anything that's done in the movie. Well, I could argue with the first half hour of establishing where Christopher Walken is in the West African nation as a naturalist, trying to use that as a cover to identify if this country needs a coup from inside or a CIA operation from outside. I think you could have probably narrowed that down, cut it to just where he's getting beaten down and gives him motivation to go back. And there's little stuff that tries to make him seem more like a human, like he has a relationship with Jo Beth Williams that is only 2 scenes. So I guess it doesn't really establish him well as a regular person, but on the other hand, it just kind of tells you this is a guy who's just doing what he does best, and you kind of empathize with him over that. It's just a lot of fun seeing these people work. It's just basically fun watching the art of what you would suspect being a mercenary is. Not so much a narrative, dare I say. So I guess it still only ranks around a 3.5 star. But the action is rather honest. And I think the silencer work or suppressor work is the best I've seen in a movie. So if you're into modern warfare, and I'm saying modern warfare is in post World War II where it's all backdoor bollocks, I think this is a fun flick for you to catch. Walken is good. It almost like disappoints me that Walken just can't get to play straight roles. Say after A View to a Kill even. Because he's a likable guy. He might be weird, but I think that's part of his charm. And I say might be weird going back to a story told by, and now I'm losing tracks of names. It was at a Fan Expo 2023 during the SAG-AFTRA strike. Peter Weller just telling a story about how Christopher Lloyd and Christopher Walken would call each other weird. but I think they are very human, and I guess that's the biggest quality of this feature is that you just see Christopher Walken being human. So, hey, inside baseball for you war nuts. Christopher Walken is human. This really is a winner.
Superman!
So, as you said, it was a great C2E2. Me, I think it was just, I think hearing about all this stuff that you wouldn't think of looking to if you aren't desperate for the communities portion. The community, and I shouldn't even say desperate for it. Like, I knew about the 5th floor. I've been up there a few times during past cons.
Yeah.
But I'm more for the content, the panels, not that people. People are dumb. But so I think they could have had more to offer in terms of that. And I mean, who's to say they know what is making them money? I do not. And I'm still very bitter about the Saturday sellout because I think this is like saying it's a convention. People are going to walk in, they're going to walk out. This is like saying you have to shut down Grand Central Terminal to...
I don't think it's exactly like that. As I said, there are issues with fire codes and security.
This is Chicago. You can bribe your way all around that.
I've heard stories about cons that got derailed because of fire code issues.
Well, as I say, this is Chicago, though. You can bribe away and get anything you want. Did they not watch The Untouchables? So, and some of this stuff, I think a lot of it really was like, oh no, you can watch this. No, you don't have to miss this panel. You can watch it on Popverse for $6. It's kind of a slap in the face. Hey, get your phone out and watch it. Sorry we didn't see this coming. So yeah, I think it's, when then you don't have anything to go and you don't have anything interesting for me to go and see outside of that, because I don't want to spend hundreds of dollars on the floor. I will, but I don't want to. So that was my thing with it. So, I mean, when it comes to 90 for Chill, the podcast, being at C2E2, or I Did Crazy Flicks, I think it's just basically, we're going to have to get a table sometime. And that would be about $1,000 investment since I have to come up with merchandise. But I've got some great ideas. You can hit me up on my social medias, at CatBusRuss, on Blue Sky primarily, but hey, it works on Instagram and Threads. And let's chat, brainstorm. So, I mean, I Did Crazy Flex is just an easy logo to sell. No, really. But, yeah. So, so you don't really... I imagine you got Star Wars Day, maybe in Joliet in June?
Star Wars Day is going on in Joliet. And they had a booth near the
I think it's
section.
First weekend of June or something like that.
First weekend in June. And this year, though, there's some road work being done near the library, is my understanding.
Oh, okay.
So as a result, they're going to be doing it at the ballpark.
Yes, I did see that.
Yeah, so if I can make it, we'll have to figure out how to get there and all.
Well, that's not Joliet's pretty easy to get around. So beyond that, though, you're not really any con-wise until, say, Fan Expo in August.
As far as I know.
Okay. Yeah, I've contacted... I haven't heard from Motor City Con. I have contacted them. That con's nearly a month away, and they haven't really said anything. I mean, it's almost as... Honestly, with their situation, it's worse than B-Fest. And now to Ben Meeks with the news. Yes, and the B-Fest lineup still has not been published. That's what it's feeling like with them. And after that, there's Planet Funk I've applied for, hopefully using my Scott County wrestling connections. Like, no, I am one of you Davenportees. I suppose that's what they're... So, but that's the future of I Did Crazy Flicks for the moment. I still got plenty of stuff from ICC to publish, but you know what? This isn't supposed to be out cons. This is supposed to be out movies. And if you want to chat about bonkers movies, hit me up on my email, russthebus07@gmail.com. That's RUSSTHEBUS07@gmail.com. And offer me a film, a theme, a director, an actor, as long as the content is bonkers. I think we can fry up some podcast gold. Otherwise, though, if you want to chat about, can you immediately think of any? Well, I guess you could say Arthur. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't necessarily call that a crazy movie, would you?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Arthur is between 70 and 100 minutes. So if you want to chat about a nice, quaint little comedy, we can do that too. That was the entire point of the podcast to begin with. So I did Crazy Flicks. You can also find every new episode on Patreon now. And that's where you'll find the archives from the original Podbean lineup. And with Patreon, if you want to help out the podcast or at least feed my cat. And how can you say no to royalty like Ava the Queen Kitty? You can subscribe to my Patreon. That's patreon.com/IDidCrazyFlicks. $3 a month gets you a waterproof sticker and a shout out on the show as long as you're a subscriber, like my good friend Tim Bates, who was on the Arena 1989 podcast about a Charles Band Bloodsport movie with aliens. Or you could also hear him on the Night of the Demons podcast, a great horror comedy, kind of fresh off the Evil Dead trend. And I've seen other Kevin Tenney stuff. I think he's a lot of fun. And I did not run into Scoop Staley when I was in Berwyn, but great wrestling show out there. A lot of hard-hitting talent. And I hope I don't cause too much controversy. One of the big angles was a guy wrestling the former WWE star, I think he's currently with TNA, Mustafa Ali, who the entire angle was Joe Alonzo calling him a bully. And then when you stop and think about the guy's job to pay the bills until he made a living at pro wrestling as a cop, I guess the bully angle really works there. So, as I say, I told you what I'm hoping for, but I really like to chat some movies up. Again, russthebus07@gmail.com or at CatBusRuss on all the social medias except for Twitter. Still proudly banned. So, anything, you got any recommendations for people to see?
Not right now. I haven't been to the movies lately.
Well, you got your letterbox. Anything on...
People can look there and see if there's anything that interests them.
All right, letterbox.com/ThePoeticCritic, all one word, no hyphens, no underscores. You can also find me on Letterboxd. That's CM Darth, cool as in movies. Darth isn't a Sith Lord. And thanks for listening to I Did Crazy Flicks. Until next time. Until next time, after I go and thank Station Marie Harden for keeping an eye on me, keeping me out of too much trouble in downtown Chicago. My wrestling trainer was kind of disappointed that I didn't actually look for real food and just settle on White Castle. And I hope she's doing the same, protecting, looking after everybody she touched in her life. And I hope she's squeezing the ectoplasm out of the fluffiest of kitties, Skimble, the one-eared angel. And now, David Tennant.
Can I hear a wahoo?